So discipline in your house must be arm bars and kimuras. Like, go clean your bedroom. All right.
Gonna get on board.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it doesn't happen so much now, but I remember always like walking around like this. Somebody just walk up behind you because they just learned how to rear naked choke somebody, and you just get choked by any kid, in the house. So kids walking around choking each other. And we didn't have the problem of, hey guys, no balls in the house, or don't throw things in the house. Like, man, no choking in the house.
Jokes. And he's black belt at 21.
At 20.
MashaAllah. Imagine jiu-jitsu, black belt, and married.
Allahu Akbar.
Amazing.
Coach,
At 20.
do you want to give some parenting advice?
Yeah,
Forget BJJ advice.
Coach, just adopt me, honestly.
Forget him. I come with my own cost, coach. I can pay you. Just adopt me.
6
Oh
people
my God.
with
The washing
geese,
machine
and
bill must be through the roof.
I think it's gonna break soon. And then you got like Zubair, he's got private lessons, and this guy's going through 2-3 geese a day. Just like it's just
God.
it's a mess, man. There's always the washers always go. There's always geese hanging on something to dry. I never thought, I could deal with this.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, welcome for another show of Deen Chat. I've got my co-host
Sunil Kumar, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Sunil, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
You good?
Alhamdulillah.
Did you have a good BJJ session?
It was too tough yesterday, man.
I ran away from it yesterday.
Yeah, I can imagine. I don't blame you.
And last week Friday it was over 31 degrees outside, but in the gym
At least 40. Minimum 40 degrees.
can I ask viewers and listeners to please subscribe to Deen Chat, please comment and share and do every other thing that I can't always remember to ask you to do. Inshallah, today's and thumbs up. I've got our editor here on this side. He told me to give the thumbs up. Inshallah, today's show is such a good show for us because obviously everyone in this room, which some of you viewers won't know, we all practice this and it's dear to us, which is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
BJJ fanatics.
BJJ fanatics. And we've got a beautiful, beautiful Ustad coach, someone we look up to. And someone we've heard of from the gym, actually.
Absolutely.
And someone who started it off at another part of the world. And that's none other than our coach, Coach Doty, Mohammed Doty. Salamu alaikum, Coach.
Assalamu alaikum, Coach.
Walaikum salam. Good to be with you guys.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm all good. It's all good here.
Alhamdulillah, good. Inshallah, we're excited for this show. Inshallah, we want to kickstart this. How do we want to do this, Sunil?
Let's do the icebreakers first.
Should we do icebreakers?
Yeah.
So we've got some icebreaking questions, Coach, if you don't mind. We're going to ask you, I'm going to look at some of the questions we've got here. Okay. So we always ask this to our viewers. So you're on a journey towards Hajj. You're going old school. You're going on a boat. So you're taking your time and you're going through time. Different eras, different time. So which Sahaba are you inspired by and would you take on and why? On this journey. Radiyallahu.
And why?
And why, Coach?
His personality. Everybody knows his personality. I would like to see for myself how that was.
Alhamdulillah.
And how he was, a strong, but at the same time compassionate. He was everything that you can really look for in a warrior and a brother and a just a leader. Everything.
Good.
Yeah, I think that would be without a doubt.
Brilliant.
It may have been something else before, but I have a strong connection, or not connection, but a strong. I used to read about him a lot as Zubair ibn al-Awwam, so that was he was also one that I looked up to a lot.
Sayyidina Zubair ibn Awwam.
Awwam, yeah. My son, I named my son after him. That was my first son. My second son was Omar.
Basically, lions.
Yeah, but why Sayyidina Zubair? Because not many people say that name.
Zubair, I don't know. I think everybody in the time when I was coming up in Islam, and it was, at least the community or the people I was around, it was Hamza, right? Because of the message, the movie, all that stuff, right?
That's right.
And I had a lot of Hamza. Yeah, he's cool. Everything is like wow about Hamza, right? But everybody wanted to name their kid Hamza. Everybody was like, yeah, Hamza, I'm Abu Hamza, this, that, right? And I was like, there must be more. There must be other warriors, you know, and I want to be a little bit different. So I was looking, I was like, okay, this one, I got that one. I was like, oh, Zubair. This is a tough guy. So that's how I got it. Back in the 90s, you know, I don't know if you guys, how old you guys are, but in the 90s, when I was becoming a better Muslim and stuff like that, everybody was always choosing their own kunyas, Abu this, Abu that.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I'm Abu Zubair. But Zubair wasn't born yet. So this must have been like 97, 98, like that. Zubair wasn't born. He was born in 2001. So
then you had to name him Zubair.
It was Zubair. My wife originally she wanted Hamza.
Oh, okay.
But her sister had a baby first, and she named.
She took the name.
So she took it already. So I was like, yeah, all right, now we got Zubair.
Okay, Coach. Our next question.
Our next question to start is: what Islamic teachers or scholars has impacted you the most? It could be from the 90s. It could be now. It could be whenever throughout time.
I'm gonna have to say the one. He may not be as famous. I don't know if you guys even know him. But for the last few years, he has impacted me, and he has sort of gotten me over the tragedies and stuff that I went through. His name's Bilal Asad.
Yes,
he's from Australia.
Yeah.
We sort of went through the same thing around the same time.
Yeah. He's part of One Path Network, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I messaged him one time on Facebook. I saw his thing. I don't know if you guys know his son passed away before what happened to me. And we became very close, and we're still in contact, and I listened to all this stuff. So he really helped me. Things I would listen to, I'd be listening in the car, and I really look forward to the day where I can meet him.
Did you ever try to convince him to come to jiu-jitsu?
I will. I'll get him, man.
Good. Coach, our next question goes to American food, actually. What would you like to eat? American food or UAE food?
Why UAE food? Because I spent a lot of time in UAE, or
yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, we were going to say at the time we should have said Qatar, isn't it?
I think the first question Ridwan posed was American food or Mandi.
Yeah,
like you can't use a whole general food and just compare it to Mandi.
It is true.
I'm gonna have to say American food. Yeah, I still have to have my burger every once in a while. You know,
That's
like
it.
even when I come to England, you know, every time you guys know Abu Musa, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Abu Musa is somebody who's very dear to me. He's the one who actually convinced me to put the gi on.
Oh wow!
I was always into no gi before. He convinced me to do that, and we became very close. So every time I come to England, I have to see him, and he takes me to this burger place. And every time we go to the same place, I forgot what it's called, but it's a halal burger place over. I forgot that area too, but you ask him.
Coach, if you ever come Luton, we'll take you to some burger places here in surrounding areas.
For sure. Next time I come to England, I'm definitely going to come to Luton. It's something I always wanted to do, but I always saw Coach Walid in the other place. You know, so every time I come, I see him. Try to spend some time with him. He's a good guy. You know.
Go on, Sunil.
Next question will start. If you could take someone on this journey, the journey that you're on right now, from the BJJ community, who would that be?
Yeah, good question.
Any his
journey or
just life journey. So you're on this journey. You have still ample time to learn whatever you want to learn.
Yeah,
and so you can take anyone from the inception of jiu-jitsu to like the modern day community of jiu-jitsu. Who would you take and what would you learn from them?
A jiu-jitsu person?
Yeah. So you could be like, you can say Helio Gracie or Collars Gracie, or you can say Gordon Ryan and whoever you prefer.
To be honest with you, I never really thought about that. You know, I have a very strong relationship with my coach, right?
Okay.
And whenever I have gone to seminars or these things, the only one who I really felt like I could really learn more from in jiu-jitsu is like old school guys, right? And I don't know how to explain this. Like there's a lot of people that I would like to be with, not just for jujitsu. If it's just for jujitsu and it's
Yeah.
not from another point of view of being with them outside of jujitsu, then I would have to say Sergio Pena. He's the coach of my coach, right?
Okay.
Why I don't say my coach is because my coach Fabrizio Moreira, he was is for me a very weird kind of like relationship, right? He's not Muslim, but he was very open with me and very respectful until now, right? Like when he came, there's no music in the gym. He asked me why. I told him. He's like, okay. We stopped for prayer. He asked questions. It's all good, right? But from the like knowledge of jujitsu, like whenever Sergio Pena came, and I've had two seminars with him. Those things that I learned from him, I still use in my jujitsu.
Gotcha.
It's somehow just like adapted to my game, and is what I want. So sometimes you can go to seminars or you can learn from. They have great stuff, but it's not for you. Sometimes that's not your game, or that's not your style, or your body can't do that, or you're a different size, or your flexibility is not there. Like you can go to 10th Planet and there's a bunch of nice stuff there, but if you don't have that flexibility, you can't do that, right? If you're not really used to a guard player, then you go take some classes with the Mendez Bros. Then you're like, what are you doing, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that's
Okay, alhamdulillah. Coach, our next question is, you're still on this boat journey. You want to take a book with you just to give you a bit of comfort, a bit of U-turn. What book would you choose to read and take with you?
not much of a reader, to be honest with you.
To be fair, I'm not either.
Nor am I.
But well, I don't know. If it's not Quran and Sunnah, then I really don't know, because I'm fascinated and I love history.
Okay.
Right. But all of our history books are from Hadith, right?
Of course.
So it's not really outside of that
Yeah.
subject. But I would just take history books, anything that's to do with Islamic history. It's really not even just Islamic history, all history. I somehow just get attracted to that.
If you like history, you like a book called Ibn Battutta's Travel.
I've heard that.
That's an amazing book. It's a Moroccan scholar. He's from Morocco. He went all the way to Bangladesh. Yeah, he's amazing.
He's before Marco Polo, isn't he?
Before Marco Polo. He traveled the whole world.
Yeah, barefoot, maybe
for
wearing
30
shoes,
years,
but yeah.
I think, or something crazy, ridiculous like that. Yeah. That's a very interesting book. Kind of give you it paints a picture of 1,000 years ago what the world looked like.
That's good.
It's an amazing book.
All right, Coach. That's our icebreaker done. We now wanna begin, I guess, to understand your journey in Islam, and we want to start off, Coach, with your mother. I know you've spoken about your mother previously, so tell us a bit how your mother accepted Islam and how that influenced yourselves, your family.
She accepted Islam in 1987. Late 87, she met a friend from Saudi Arabia. In our area in Colorado, there was a few universities that the Saudis, Khalijis, all the Khalij, Saudis, Qataris, Emiratis, Kuwaitis, there were a lot of them there. So they were just, whether you're Muslim or not, you'd mix with them somehow. So she ended up meeting one in the mall or something, and then they just became friends and they started talking, and then she saw the prayer and stuff like this, started asking questions. And the thing is, my mom, she's always been looking for something, right? So as a very young child, I remember going to church, different kind of churches. She'd sort of hop around different kind of, the different kind of churches they have. I'm not so familiar with all of them. My father's side was Catholic, so we'd be going to church with them. Then we'd go to church with some other, I don't know. I remember there's one church, it was called Happy Church or something. I don't know. They're all dancing and stuff.
Evangelicals.
Always, she was always just looking for something different, something. She's looking for answers, but she don't know what it is, right? And she's just searching and meeting people. Okay, let me see what that religion's like. Let me see what that's like. So when she started learning a little bit more about Islam, she just immediately was, I think maybe it was a couple of months of asking questions, maybe less. I should probably ask her. Haven't really talked about it much. It's just from what I remember. But yeah, so she was the one to really look for something, right?
Gotcha.
So she got involved with, getting accepting Islam and changing and all these things. And then must have been 6 months later or something like that, she approaches me and she asked me if I want to become Muslim. And I think I was 10 years old.
SubhanAllah. Okay.
Right. And she's like, I don't want to force this on you, but it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing for us. And I was like, all right. I didn't know, like, I'm like, okay, if you're going to do it, I'm going to do it. Right. You're my mom. At that age, you're still close with your parents. You're not rebelling yet. Right. Well, most of us, well, I don't know. I was still close with her. I was still all right. I was like, okay, what do I have to do? So she started saying, like, okay, we got to pray. We got to, do this. And I started learning, Al-Fatiha, and it just sort of started growing like that,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Accepting Islam at the hands of your mother.
At 10 as well.
At 10 as well.
Crazy.
SubhanAllah. And in terms of what ethnic background is your mother?
She's American Indian and Irish.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Nice. So, like the experience in accepting Islam in the 80s, I can only imagine what that was like. Like, there was no internet. There was no, like, easy access to Islam. So how was it for her? So how did she, acquire knowledge or get to know about things? Was it just through friends?
Yeah, she got into the community. That was the good thing about having those, even though they were young and not all of them were good Muslims. But even if you meet Muslims who aren't that great, they still have a love for Islam, no matter what they're doing, right? So if you ask them, they could be doing anything, right? And then you say something against Islam, they will likely defend and come up and defend it, right? No matter what they're doing. So they still had that, that love.
Coach, can I ask you a question? Sorry to interject there. Would you then advise Muslims it's important to be around a community where there are Muslims? Because, they create an atmosphere where kids, parents, everybody gets involved in Islam at some shape or form, at some level?
I think nowadays it's more important than the past. I think the past you could isolate yourself, you could choose your friends here and there, but now with the internet and with so much stuff going on, our kids, us, our children, whatever, they need to be in a good environment. I think it's very important. That's who we are, right? Whatever our environment is. So I think very important. That's my reason for being in Qatar, right? I mean, not saying that if there's not good people anywhere else, or I just feel like it would be more difficult in Western countries to raise kids. So that was my whole thing about staying here,
Just on that, so you accepted Islam at 10, right? So at what point did you...
Yeah, it's a bit tricky now. That whole story kind of goes like here and there, right? Because I was happy at 10 following my mom.
Yeah.
And then when I got like back to school, somehow word got around. What are you, Muslim? What's a Muslim? Like, so then I'd start explaining that. I don't know. And then it must have been around, I think that was like 4th grade. I was in 4th grade maybe. And then a couple of years later, there's a lot of peer pressure. And this is where it comes back to, like, being around good people and right. Yeah. That's really going to show you the question. I like the answer to your question from before. But in 6th grade, I just remember too much peer pressure. There was just so much pressure on me. I'm the only Muslim in the school.
Gotcha.
And I'm probably the only, and I was actually quite popular before. So I sort of like became not so popular, which didn't bother me. I never cared to be popular, right? But I was always into sports, and sports gets you popularity and stuff like that, right?
Of course.
And I was always pretty good at what I did, so that attracts girls,
Yeah.
right? You know, and I was the only athletic or popular guy who doesn't have a girlfriend and stuff like this. So a lot of pressure just started coming on, right?
Of course.
And when I think about those things, I don't want to put my kids in that situation,
Yeah.
right? Put them in if you have a possibility to put them in a better environment, then do it.
Coach, can I just quickly come back to you then? What's your view in terms of Muslims doing hijrah, going to Muslim lands? Is this something you would say, you know, Muslims should aspire to, or if they've got communities local?
I mean, I think if you have the ability and the opportunities to do it, then do it. You know,
Okay.
the problem with a lot of the Muslim countries is they don't really accept you. You know, they accept you for your work, what you can do, but then when they're done with you, they should just kick you out or throw you away. You know, so it's like you can't own property. You know, you can't get the residency or passports. So that's sort of difficult. It's difficult to really truly make a proper hijrah, right? It's
Yeah,
not
of
really
course.
hijrah. It's like moving away from home for a while to raise your kids,
Yeah.
and then you go back. And most of the brothers like I've met from England, that's what they do. They have no choice. When your job's finished, you're finished, so you got to go back home. So they can never really truly make hijrah. It's not. It is a sort of hijrah. They're going to another land for, but they always know it's temporary.
Yeah.
You know, that's the difficulty with the hijrah. You know, like for me right now, there's no certainty that I'll stay in Qatar forever.
So, Coach, I know you just spoke about hijrah, which is interesting. Again, I think for a lot of people, this stuff can really help them and guide them, which is why we have these shows, Coach. But tell us now a little bit some of the struggles you faced in your life and how Islam supported you, comforted you in those moments. And you've touched upon it at the icebreaker regarding Bilal Assad. So can you just expand a little bit more on that?
I think the only struggle that comes to my mind is losing my son. When that happened, like every other struggle or problem you had in your life is almost forgotten. If you tell me to list your problems in life, I probably can't even tell you anything, because the only thing that's like right in front of my face is that. Nothing else matters.
Can I just come in there? I remember hearing Bilal Assad, because he lost his son, like you've mentioned, and how he said that I think his son was 17 years old, or, you know, he was a teenager of sort, and he just said what comforted him the most, and tell me if this resonates with you, was thinking of the Prophet ﷺ losing his son Ibrahim. You know, to know the Prophet ﷺ lost. So how can you expand on that for us a little bit more?
Yeah, it's to have that connection. It's a test that nobody wants to go through, but at the same time, you feel, you know, the best people of the world, the Prophet ﷺ and others have been tested with this, and Allah doesn't test us with anything we can't overcome, right, or deal with. And I never thought, you know, I could deal with this.
You know, so I think one of the beautiful things about being Muslim is, and this is, I'll give you a commentary on what my mom said to me. My mom's not Muslim, she's Christian, but she said something she found beautiful among Muslims was any sort of tragedy hits them, their response is, from God we come, to God we return. And no one else, I think, understands death or tragedies as such. Because, like, you know, I remember her telling me about what she saw. She went to a funeral in Libya, and her friend was saying, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Allah gives and Allah takes. You know, I think that's like, especially when we see, like, you know, it's inspiration of someone from who doesn't have a sort of a faith background. You know,
I agree.
They look at this because the normal response is to be sour and tragic and broken completely. Though it happens to Muslims too, you know. But I think Islam really holds us together. Do you think that Islam really kind of fortified your, because sometimes you can break a relation with God, sometimes you can make a relation with God?
For me, it's Qadar Allah, right? I mean, if you believe in Qadar, then there's nothing you can. If that part of your iman is weak, then you're gonna have difficulties. You know, like there were some people who you know I met with during those days of, you know, there's like 3 days of people visiting you and stuff like that, right? And how could this happen? He's 9 years old. Who's, you know? And then they would see, like, they would hear other people like, oh, it was his time. Allah took him on his time. It's not early, it's not late.
SubhanAllah.
And then another person, I would hear them talking like, what kind of God takes a 9-year-old, and they weren't Muslim, right? And I'm just listening to the people and stuff, and I remember just leaving the room at that point, because people are confused and hurt, and they're all trying to understand the situation and what happened and how it happened. But I think what helped me a lot was knowing that, from our hadith and all of these things, that when the children die before
That's right.
they reach puberty, they're promised,
That's correct. Coach, I know this is an emotional part, and we understand that. And one thing I find comforting with these kind of hadith, Coach, which what you just touched on there, that when Allah allows the child to go to Jannah, he looks for his parents. Saying to Allah, "Oh Allah, you can't let me go, without my parents holding your hands."
Yeah, he's gonna look for us and pull us in, right?
Inshallah.
These are the kind of things that got me through it, knowing that I'm going to see him again, inshallah, and he's gonna drag us in. He's gonna pull our clothes in, and he's gonna pull me and his mother in. And those are the things that I when I think about it, if you're not Muslim, how do you get through this?
Yeah, I agree.
It's hard for non-Muslims to grieve.
I will never see him again, or do they know? Do they really believe in heaven and hell and all these things, right? So, if you have some solid foundation in Iman, and then like, okay, even shaitan comes to you sometimes, and you're like, no, push that aside.
Yeah.
Like stuff come in my head, like.
But Coach, I think that is one of the mercies of Allah Jalla Jalalu, because listen, I can't imagine what that can feel like, but to know Allah has put such a mercy that is your ticket, inshallah, and by the will and permission of Allah, that is your ticket, bi'ithnillah, to Jannah. It's a phenomenal healing, isn't it?
Of course.
Allah gives so much healing.
If people don't really understand the hereafter, and they don't understand Islam, they don't understand what's going to happen after death, they may find this weird. But now, when I say this, you guys would understand, hopefully, inshallah. But I'm happy that he died before puberty.
Yeah, absolutely,
completely,
absolutely.
I wouldn't want to go through not knowing if they die as a teenager, and what were they up to? Were they praying? Were they doing what? And then the punishment in the grave and all these things. So now you're just like, you don't have that stress. You're sad. You've lost him. Everything's gone. But you're like, all right, he's good. He's not being punished because he didn't do anything yet. So it's that's so comforting.
That brings me to sort of my follow-up questions from that. In our journey of Islam, there always comes a point where you're completely in conviction Islam is true. Did that happen with you? So like after, because you became Muslim quite early and you had to go through what you did. So was there a point in your life that said, Islam is so true, I'm going to follow it till the end of time now?
Good point.
Well, the thing is, in the beginning, I was so young, right? And there was so much bad influence that I got off track for a while, some years. And I sort of fluctuated back and forth, right?
Yeah.
And when people ask me when I became Muslim, they ask, when did you become Muslim? I tell them, I was 17, 18. I don't tell them 10, because during those 6, 7, 8 years, I was so all over the place. Not in terms of belief. I always believed, and I always was like, man, this, I never could understand the Trinity and Christianity, all these things, right?
Coach, can I then also ask you your experience of Salah, and seeing that for the first time? How was that as an experience? You said your mum, she was amazed about seeing people do Salah and prayer. What about your experience? Was there anything in Islam, you found really, wow, this is impressive?
In the beginning, I can't really remember what sort of just made me feel like it was right. Okay. I think it was because I was so young. When I think about it, it's probably just fitra, just it's the natural thing like, yeah, this seems right. There's one God. Like, why would there be three? Why would there be a son? That doesn't make sense. And I'm 10 years old thinking this, right?
Yeah.
So I think the fitr hadn't left me yet. So I think it was that, you know, and then at the same time, religion was a part of our life, but it wasn't really like the focal point for us. And I always sort of remember, just like from a very young age, I don't think it was 10, but it was maybe after that, but always sort of, you know, when you're talking to the Christians and my friends were around me, and they kind of like can do anything they want because Jesus died for their sins.
Yeah,
like, what?
Yeah, it's a good point.
I never could understand that. Even as a very young child, I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. So I can be bad and I'm still going to heaven. Like, what does that mean? You know?
And coach, can I also say, as for some reverts, is it difficult to access Muslim communities or learn more about Islam? Because those who are born in Islam, obviously they've got their parents, they get nurtured. And I know you came into Islam at a young age, so you were probably more fortunate. But I've had this discussion. I suspect for revert people generally, it can be a little bit more tricky.
I think it's hard for them just because of their maybe family and friends. They have to pretty much start their life over a lot of times.
Yeah.
Many people I've met, you know, they've been like almost abused by their parents or friends. My mom's had her issues with her family. I don't even have any contact with them, just because we've tried, they've all tried to, you know, talk to them about Islam, but they're so negative about it that, you know, it's just. So I think that's the main problem the reverts may have if they came from, you know, religions that, especially nowadays, may hate Islam or hate Muslims.
Yeah.
You know, I remember meeting quite a few people in Dubai when I was there from India. A very big Indian population there, and when they become Muslim, it's worse than when Christians become Muslim.
Wow.
You know, yeah, the Hindus, man, they're real evil sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, and you see what's going on in the news now these days, right?
Yeah, of course, in India.
I knew personally some guys, like one guy, I forgot his name. He became Muslim. Inshallah, everything's okay with him. But this was like 20 years ago. But I remember him telling me he had to pray in the closet because he couldn't let his parents see him. You know, so stuff like this, you know, like it's difficult for people.
I was going to say, just different for different reverts from different backgrounds. So like a Hindu convert has a different experience to a Christian convert.
Yeah.
You know, and the level of difficulties they face, and depends where they accept Islam. If you accept Islam, Hindu India, you know, it's an extremely different experience for you. You praying Salah in a closet. I've heard stories of people playing Salah in the toilet. You know, I've heard, you know, it's amazing. But where in America, it may be a bit more, as not tolerated, but it may be a bit more easier for some people, depending which background you come from. So I could totally understand that, subhanAllah.
And Coach Doty, then, in terms of your Islam and BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, how does that correlate? You know, and how does that work in your life?
In the beginning, I was quite happy that somehow I came across the hadith that all of us grapplers know about the Sahaba grappling, right?
Yes.
You know, when Lucana, I think it was his name, you know, like you have these hadith about them wrestling and having their games about it. I was like, oh, this is very good, right? I'm doing something and I can get rewards for it too. This is perfect. It's something I like. It's not like football or basketball where I'm just, okay, it's beneficial for my health or something, but it's not really a sunnah sport.
Yeah.
Like swimming or archery, horseback riding, wrestling. I was like, oh, this is perfect. So in that sense, it sort of made me happy that, you know, you can, if you have the right intentions, then like anything else, if you have the right intention for it, then it can benefit you in this world and the next. So that's a cool thing.
Coach, would you then say for Muslim men, it's important to wrestle, to get into wrestling, art, BJJ?
Yeah, I think unless something's holding them back physically, I think they should do it. It's one of the regrets I have as a child that nobody really. Well, my father wasn't around, so who would do it, right? But I was never in wrestling in school, and they had a wrestling program. I wish somebody would have told me to go. It's something I think that everybody should, at a young age, should do. It's a good foundation. Whether it's not jiu-jitsu, even though I love jiu-jitsu, I think wrestling is a huge benefit. When you look at the people who have come from wrestling to jiu-jitsu, I think they're the toughest ones. When I've fought in competition, my toughest opponents were the wrestlers turned jiu-jitsu practitioners, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I wish I had that chance, but alhamdulillah, anyway, what to do. But it's something that I think everybody should put their kids in, wrestling or jiu-jitsu, any kind of grappling, judo,
So, coach, if you could master, besides jiu-jitsu, which you already have, mashallah, though it's in the ocean, if you could master one of the two arts in the grappling, would it be judo or would it be wrestling?
Judo or wrestling? I would choose wrestling. I've
Why
tried
is
judo.
that?
I've tried wrestling. I've tried them both.
Uh-huh.
But I think wrestling, from my little experience of both of them, wrestling, I think it covers more. And there's a lot of things in wrestling that judo has, even though it doesn't have the grips. You'll have the same kind of throws, I don't know all the terminologies in both, but I have a very close friend of mine. He was a wrestler from Nebraska. He was, I don't know if you guys, I forgot the name of that movie. Anyway, the Schultz brothers, if you guys know them, Mark
No,
Schultz.
No, coach. Go.
Okay, they were in UFC. They had like a program, so that they went around America and chose like a sort of dream team
Okay.
for Villanova University.
Okay.
And they took all the best seniors in high school and put them and gave them a scholarship. And they were planning to make this dream team of wrestlers, right?
Gotcha.
Anyway, my neighbor, one of my closest friends, was from that team. So I was able to learn some wrestling from him, and he's extremely good. He's old now, but he can still throw me around. What I learned from him were things that just I wish I would had the chance to learn earlier.
Wrestling's quite big in America, isn't it, Coach?
It is, especially in that central part. He was telling me, my friend Harun, he was telling me, if you're a child in school and you don't do wrestling, you're not one of the boys, You're not one of the men. Like, if you don't do wrestling, something wrong with you. And that's their mentality there.
Does wrestling translate well into the gi world?
There are a lot of people now creating variations of how to use wrestling in the gi, right? It's a lot more difficult because wrestling is a lot of explosiveness and speed, right?
Yeah.
The gi slows you down with the grips, but I see people, especially the double leg and the single legs, and all, they're still there. They're all there, and that's all. When you look at it, or if people don't know wrestling or judo properly, they look at it and they're fighting jiu-jitsu, right? In jiu-jitsu tournaments, but the top level athletes, they cross train.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu and wrestling and judo, or one or two of them. So you'll see wrestling. I'm sure you guys have seen it, right? In the competitions, there's a takedown from wrestling.
Yeah.
What's a takedown in jiu-jitsu? There is no takedowns in jiu-jitsu.
Coach, the other thing I was gonna ask you is women. Now, tell us a little bit more about your wife's journey in BJJ, because I think that's unique and interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
And that is an inspirational for all sisters.
Yeah, it's a long journey, but it didn't really take off until we got to Qatr, right?
Okay.
So we were married in '99, right? And I was into UFC. I was watching UFC. I was training. There was nobody to train with in Emirates Jiu-Jitsu at the time. there was in Abu Dhabi, but I didn't have transportation, I didn't have a car or anything, so I just sort of waited for my friends to come back from America and stuff, and then they would bring me the VHS tapes, right? Old school style. And
A lot of our viewers are gonna say, "What's a VHA tape?" Just to let you know. Yeah, go on. Coach.
so those big ugly tapes that you stick in a VCR, man, right? What's a VCR, right? Google it, man. But I remember showing her UFC, and she was amazed. And I was like, she's not into fighting. But, you know, when we spoke about it, she's like, yeah, I'm not into fighting, but it's amazing to see that. To see a small guy beat a big guy. It's the Hoist Gracie, that's the one I showed her, right? So we used to watch UFC, and every chance we got, you know, and she'd ask questions. And I was into boxing, and I was doing a little bit of no-gi jiu-jitsu as much as I could with people that had a little bit of knowledge. And, you know, she started getting interested in sort of just, it's sort of because, like, you know, we were young. She's a few years younger than me. And sometimes when you marry young like that, you sort of, look up to the wife might look up to the husband about what he does. She might start liking things that he likes, or vice versa, whatever, you know, like you grow together, you know.
Yeah, of course.
And she just found it interesting. Years later, now, we came to Qatar. What was it? That was '99. We came to Qatar in 2009. So all during that time, she never trained any martial arts. But when we got to Qatar, I started my training, you know, normal stuff. I was doing my boxing, and I met Abu Musa. Abu Musa, first thing, hey, you do jiu-jitsu? You know, that's like his first question to me. And I was like, yeah, a little bit, you know, I did some stuff in UAE, and didn't have a proper instructor, and blah, 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 all this stuff. So he was like, come train with us. And I was like, nah, you know, I wasn't into the gi thing, right? So I told my wife, I was like, look, this guy I met, he's inviting me to go. And at that time, I didn't have a job. Also, I was looking around for work. And she's like, yeah, you should go. It's a good opportunity, you know, learn something from proper structure, right? Not just going around to different gyms and trying leg locks or something, right? so she sort of pushed me to start in the gi. So the two people who are responsible for me putting the gi on is Abu Musa and my wife, even though she didn't do it yet, right? So I started, you know, like that, and then after some time, it must have been 3 or 4 months. I had no training partner, like to practice stuff. I was so like I was getting that stage in jiu-jitsu where you get obsessed, and you're like, I need to beat that guy in the gym, or I need to learn this move properly, or that guy keeps catching me. Like Abu Musa kept catching me in triangles, right? That's his thing, yeah. I was like, I need to practice his triangle escapes.
What belt was Abu Musa at that time?
Sorry?
What belt was he?
It was blue.
Blue belt, okay.
Yeah. There's a picture somewhere on the internet of me and him.
Okay.
Maybe on my Facebook, or I don't know. He was blue, I was white. And yeah, it's I needed a training partner, but at the same time, I don't want to use Abu Musa because he's the one I want to beat, right? So that,
You want to keep the moves hidden.
yeah, I need to secret moves, you know, until I master it, then I can show somebody, right? So yeah, we started drilling a little bit of things together, and then she started liking it, and I was like, okay, let's start training. So it started like that, you know, just training a little bit with her in the house, had some mats down, and yeah, and then eventually I was requested by the neighbors to start a class, right? And that's how Qatr MMA started. I wanted to teach my son. I got a neighbor, and then other neighbors started asking, can you teach our kids? And I'm like, look, I'm just doing this to teach my son. I'm not even a blue belt yet. I was a 3-stripe white belt when I started
Okay.
teaching kids. Why? Because there was no kids class in Qatar. So I was like, okay, whatever I know, I'm going to teach him. I want my son to learn.
Coach Doty, can I just come in there? Isn't it amazing? You know, when you sort of revive a sunnah. So obviously Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, disclaimer, isn't directly of the sunnah, but you know the grappling elements which are shared in wrestling, BJJ and other martial arts, obviously they have that sunnah element towards it. But isn't it amazing, Coach, in that land you were the first to set up Qatr BJJ?
I wasn't the first though.
Okay.
So it's clear, right? I don't want to take that.
You were one of the founding fathers then?
Yeah.
You can say I would say the founding father of jiu-jitsu in Qatar that I know of is Abu Musa.
MashaAllah.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah.
And he had a friend named Aqil.
Okay.
He's American. I think he's now in South Africa or something. So those two guys used to watch YouTube, practice on each other, and they'd actually go to competitions.
No way. Risky. That's risky.
So he was noticed. Abu Musa one time was noticed at a competition by a coach in Saudi Arabia named Jamil, and he was like, "Who's your coach?" He's like, "I don't have a coach. Just YouTube." Right. So then it started to build, and Coach Jamil hooked him up with his cousin Ismail, and they came over and started a club in Qatar, and I was training with them. And then I was training with them for a while, and I sort of had different, ideology, and we split. And I started my own thing. I wanted to focus on kids. They didn't really have a proper kids program. I had no intention of teaching adults. I had no intention of making anything big. And then things just started to grow slowly, So, yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
What was the response from the community that you were in terms of jiu-jitsu? Because I find it a lot of time gyms struggle to get people to come try jiu-jitsu. How did you manage to convince people, or what was their response? Were they already interested, or was it an uphill struggle?
The thing is, why it was a struggle for me, but it wasn't like I had an overhead of a gym. Right? I started very small. I started from my house.
Right.
So it's not like I had extra rent or I had to pay a secretary, receptionist, and all these things, right? And if people were interested, it was mostly just by word of mouth. People are looking for something for their kids to do, some sort of self-defense, martial art. Most of my first students were from England. It was just because of the community here in Qatar that I was around. Mostly probably because of Abu Musa. He would be the one to get all the people in first, right? He's very I don't know if you've hung out with him outside of the gym.
Yeah.
But he'll be walking down the street and he'll be like, "Hey, you do jiu-jitsu?" Somebody out. He sees a cauliflower here and he'll just come to the gym. He has no shyness.
Proper bubbly personality. I love this.
Hey, come and train. I don't train. It doesn't matter. Come and train. So he helped a lot with that. I think he's the one who got Kashif to come to me. So yeah.
And Coach, so while you're teaching kids and you're teaching your wife eventually achieved a senior role in BJJ, which is a black belt. That is a huge achievement for anybody. Let alone a sister within our community. So what advice would you give then to Muslim sisters want to get into BJJ or still a bit on the novice side?
Well, first you need to have somebody who's got the commitment to teach or want to be a teacher, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to start as a black belt. You don't have to employ a black belt. It's better, of course. But sometimes maybe the gym can't afford that, or the demand is not there for the ladies. But I think what my wife did, what I did, we both did. Was we started teaching adults, we started teaching at blue belt. There was no other option, especially for the ladies. There's no other option. And, you know, you do the best you can. And she would always ask me advice and, you know, how to teach and, you know, all that stuff. Her classes probably are now like very similar to the way I teach, because we have the same style, you know, of teaching, because obviously, like, I have the same style as my coach, you know, but things change a little bit here and there. But at the same time, it's, you know, she's got that style that I taught her, and she developed other ways to teach and stuff like that. But in the beginning, I think the sisters just need to just commit and try, you know, just need to get one to be that leader, you know. She needs to love to teach. So that's.
Can I then say, if you forget to get the milk or take the rubbish out, does she put you in a triangle?
No, I still don't let her do anything on me.
You break grips immediately.
Yeah, that must be a beautiful relationship.
Yeah, well, I should imagine that. So, coach, you know, in terms of like jiu-jitsu for women, would you recommend that as the first thing they should do to learn self-defense, or would you recommend any other arts too?
No, I think jiu-jitsu is the first thing I would recommend.
I think for sisters get into BJJ, not only you have the elements of sunnah in there,
Absolutely.
it's an amazing art. All right, I think it should good.
Absolutely.
Coach, the other thing I was going to say to you is the story doesn't end there, because obviously you're a black belt, aren't you, Coach? Your wife's a black belt. You know where we're going to go next. Your son's a black belt, isn't he?
Yeah, he's nice to me now.
So discipline in your house must be arm bars and kimuras. Like, go clean your bedroom. All right,
gonna get on board.
yeah. At the
Chokes mostly.
Jokes.
In the beginning, it doesn't happen so much now, but I remember always like walking around like this. Somebody just walk up behind you because they just learned how to rear naked choke somebody, and you just get choked by any kid, you know, in the house. So, you know, kids walking around choking each other, and I was like, hey guys.
Always walking in the turtle defense position.
Yeah.
We didn't have the problem of, hey guys, no balls in the house, or don't throw things in the house. Like, man, no choking in the house.
How did you get your kids into that? So, because normally kids are quite like, you know, if you force them to do
That's
something,
right.
what approach did you use to encourage your kids?
They were young. I think any kid who tries jiu-jitsu before the age of 10 thinks it's fun.
Yeah,
It's messing around, wrestling, it's roughhousing,
natural.
you know, all that. It's natural. They love it. When they don't love it is like 13, 14. That's when they start to have distractions and peer pressure to do other things.
Yeah.
Zubair, my son, he admitted to me a few years ago that he wanted to quit, but he was too scared of me to quit. And he's thankful now that he didn't quit, because everybody who started with him quit. So everybody who started with him quit before they were 16, so they didn't even get a blue belt.
How old is Zubair right now?
It's 20, 21.
And he's black belt at 21.
At 20.
MashaAllah.
Coach, can I just say, Coach, you do not look like a father of a 20-year-old. You still look like you're mid-25s. Just to let you know.
Some white hair here, you know.
We can edit that out, Coach. Don't worry about that. So one of our fondest memories, I've always said this to everyone on this podcast, whenever you're doing BJJ, and right now, Coach, our sessions are like 8 till 9:30. So Maghrib kicks in at the last part. Is nothing better for me than on a Friday night going to BJJ and doing Maghrib with the brothers. After we've had a hot session with the windows shut, because they don't open the windows in that place, and I don't know why.
Can't breathe.
Right, and then you're reading Salah behind someone. It is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Coach, do you share that? Is it nice when that brotherhood's there?
Yeah. You know, for a while, it's kind of weird, you know. Like in the beginning, when we were small, it was like that, you know. Not saying it's bad to have non-Muslims in the club, but most of my students were Muslim. Later on, a lot of different nationalities started to come in, and then it was like it started to become more mixed, you know. Different nationalities and religions and stuff like that. So in the beginning, we would all stop, and the class would stop because nobody else is who else is going to train? Even if some people are weak in Iman and they don't pray, they would feel embarrassed probably and pray,
Yeah,
right? They're
yeah.
not going to keep training. Later on, the non-Muslims outnumbered the Muslims in terms of in the students. So, you know, Fabrice would keep the class going, and then we'd go in the other room and we'd pray. I didn't really like that, you know, but at the same time, okay, you know, why stop the class if those guys aren't
Of
praying?
course, of course.
You know, so since the tragedy of my son, I went to our other branch. I have another branch, different part of the city. It's smaller and it's like those days, and I'm really enjoying it there because that's what I missed. You know, like class stops for prayer.
Of course.
It's sort of it's peaceful. That, you know, I like that. But yeah, it is a good thing to have those brothers there, pray, stop in the middle of training, or pray afterwards. Or sometimes you get busy with life, right? Especially here, our training it's not with Maghrib. It's Isha might come in, right?
Yes.
And you know, you can delay Isha and pray later if it's not in the masjid, right? So sometimes I might forget, right? And I'm like, oh, I got to get home, and I'm out, and then one of the brothers, and it's always this one guy, Mohammed Doty. He's from India. He's a brown belt now with me. Coach, we need to pray. So, oh, thank you. He always reminds me. Allah reward him, inshallah. But he's
I mean,
yeah, he's always telling, hey, we didn't pray. Let's pray. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I forgot. So that's a good thing too. Even after training, even if it's whatever, we make Jama'ah in the gym. It's nice. It's a good feeling.
alhamdulillah, mashallah.
Coach, I want to ask you about nutrition and diet
Good question.
in terms of jiu-jitsu and grappling in sports. Is there anything particular that you follow or stay away from or look forward to eating in terms of your diet for jiu-jitsu?
To be honest with you, now I don't follow anything. I just try to be normal. I'm not in the best of shape. I don't want to keep, you know, mentioning the.
No, not at all, coach.
After that happened, I kind of just let go of myself.
Yeah.
I've tried to come back, but I haven't been able to get back in the shape that I was before that. So I'm like, I don't know, 86 kilos, but I've never been over 80 in my life until that. And then I just, you know, just trying slowly to get back into things. And I had a lot of injuries leading up to that. So right now, I'm not really following anything. I just try to be careful so I don't become obese.
Right.
Try to keep training as much as I can. I try to eat decently. You know, I'm not so strict like I was when I was competing. I was very strict then with sugar, like no sugar, and treat myself once a week, and you know, all that stuff. I was very determined to, you know, compete. I competed at 76, sometimes at 70, right? So, yeah, right now it's sort of just, you know, keeping it balanced.
Yeah.
Not always strict, but you know, just being careful here and there.
Alhamdulillah, and coach, I hope, you know, like I said, Allah make it easy for you and your family
I mean,
in your situation. How did BJJ help?
You know how you guys probably know this. Anybody who trains jiu-jitsu, they know what I'm talking about when I say this. But when you train jiu-jitsu, you don't think about anything else.
Yeah,
you're just present in that moment.
That's right.
If you do, you're gonna get tapped, right?
Yeah.
You can't start thinking about what you eat. You know, what am I gonna eat later? You know, oh, my arm, right? So that in that sense, I didn't teach after everything happened because of Corona. So all the gyms were closed, but I had private lessons going on in my house for people who didn't care. But it helped, even though I didn't want to do it beforehand. Like, oh, I got to teach today. No, I don't feel like it. But while I was doing it, I actually looked forward later to that time of the day because I wasn't depressed or thinking about, you know, the stuff, because it was less than 2 months later when I started the private lessons.
Yeah.
And I've become very close with that one guy. His name is Bassam. He's Qatari. He's become a very close friend of mine. We scuba dive together. We do a lot of things together. We became very close at that time because even though the lesson for him was supposed to be an hour, it would last 2.5 hours. So I didn't want it to
2.5
stop.
hours.
I didn't want to go back to my room and think about anything else. Just train,
Yeah.
talk about jiu-jitsu, train jiu-jitsu, and just keep it going.
I've always said this, coach, that BJJ helps mental health. It helps release of stress. It helps you focus. You know, it's healing. It really is healing. You know, alhamdulillah, coach, on that. So, no, anything else?
I've just wanted to thank you, for all the information that you've shared with us. It's very eye-opening and it's very touching as well. And the journey is so inspiring.
It is.
And your wives and your family. So like having 3 black belts in the same household, may God give us that opportunity too.
Ameen.
So inshallah, jazakallah khair, Ustad.
Absolutely, Ustad. And a big thank you. We were so excited to have you on this podcast. It means a lot for us who are also BJJ practitioners. And inshallah, would
have been great.
Inshallah, coach. What we if you come down to the UK and you are in Luton, we're absolutely to have you in one of our sessions and also do another podcast in person.
And burgers afterwards.
On us. And I think it'd be good.
I would be in England every year, twice.
Wow.
2000 since 2016, 17, 18, 19. And then when the pandemic hit, Corona was there, like I just stopped traveling,
Okay. Yeah.
So England was our place. We used to come. I used to bring my son every year to compete.
Where did you go in England mainly?
I would be in London,
Okay.
at that Crystal Palace, for IBJJ
Okay.
competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to build his name and, get him accomplishments and stuff like that. So he did that. London was always good with him. I don't know why. He always had good fortune, winning competitions there and stuff. So definitely gonna come back. I gotta visit you guys.
Inshallah.
I
I'd
gotta
love to
visit
host
Abu
you,
Musa.
inshallah.
Those guys are like family to me. Abu Musa and Kasha, Coach Waleed.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Definitely, Luton is a place to be for jiu-jitsu right now.
Yeah.
And for good food.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's entice you with the food.
And then the BJJ
and the
after.
jiu-jitsu after.
When it's time for competition, we'll head down to wherever it is. Instead of staying somewhere else, I used to stay in different places, just wherever I found a good deal in a hotel.
Yeah.
We're only 40 minutes away from London, so it's not even that far.
And some say it's just like a mini Qatar
Yeah, some say that.
or mini Pakistan or Bangladesh, depending on what group you're from. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
But no, Jazakallah, coach. I just want to say a big thank you from our heart. And inshallah, we will stay in touch. Assalamu alaikum, coach.
Alaikum salam.
A big thank you to all the listeners and viewers. Please subscribe, like, and share, and let us know if you want to see Coach Doty in person when he comes to the UK next, because we would love to. And his son, maybe. 4 weeks ago, Coach, he did a choke on me, and I thought I'm getting out, but he put me to sleep.
Oh, yes.
He put me to sleep. I was snoring. I thought I had him. And so I put my hand there, and he grabbed it, and he just pulled, and
All we hear is just
Snoring.
snores on the inside of the gym.
it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing.
And then Kashif, mashallah, Allah bless him, so caring as well. He's holding Ridwan, are you okay? Ridwan,